vitamin D, which is very important. The sites of action are mainly on intestinal mucosal cells or intestinal villi cells, then bone osteoblasts, kidney distal tubular cells. Kidney distal tubular cells. So vitamin D mainly acts on three target tissues, that is intestine, bone and kidney. So it mainly shows its effects on three tissues: intestine, bone and kidney. So in the intestine it is intestinal villi cells, bone the osteoblast cells, kidney the distal tubular cells, where the biological effect of vitamin D is seen. Let us see the absorption of vitamin D, how it takes place. So this vitamin D absorption is dependent on calcium as well. So calcitriol, which is the active form of vitamin D, promotes absorption of calcium, and phosphorus from the intestine. Calcitriol means active form of the vitamin D. So vitamin D promotes absorption of calcium and phosphorus from the intestine, which means vitamin D is required for the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. Vitamin D is required for the absorption of calcium and phosphorus from the intestine. So if vitamin D is deficient, calcium is not absorbed from the intestine. Same way phosphorus is also not absorbed from the intestine. So in the breast border surface, this calcium is absorbed passively, and this is promoted by calcitriol. From the intestinal cell to the blood, absorption of calcium needs energy. From the intestinal cell, which has to be transported to the blood, the absorption of calcium needs energy. It is either by sodium calcium exchange mechanism or by pumping out the calcium calbindin complex. So calcium absorption from the intestinal cells into the blood takes place either by sodium calcium exchange mechanism or by pumping out the calcium calbindin complex. Now this calcitriol, it acts like a steroid hormone. So I said vitamin D is a steroid hormone. So calcitriol acts like a steroid hormone, because though it is not a hormone, but it functions like a hormone. It enters the target cell, vitamin D enters the target cell and binds to a cytoplasmic receptor. Okay, it binds to a cytoplasmic receptor, and the hormone receptor complex interacts with the DNA and causes de-repression and consequent transcription of specific genes that code for calbindin. This calbindin helps in the exchange mechanism or transport mechanism of calcium. Okay, so what will happen? This calcitriol goes and binds with the cell, the receptors that are present on the cell for vitamin D, and it forms a receptor complex, and this receptor complex enters in the cytoplasm and reaches the DNA in the nucleus. It goes and binds with the DNA and causes the de-repression. As a result, the transcription will go on. So the specific genes that code for calbindin are produced. So due to increased availability of calcium binding protein, the absorption of calcium is increased. So calcitriol has an active role in calcium absorption. Now see, this diagram explains how this vitamin D functions like a steroid hormone. If you see, this is a receptor, calcitriol receptor. Now this receptor has come and bind with the intestinal cell. So in the intestinal cell, the receptors for calcitriol are present in the cell. Now this receptor goes and binds with the calcitriol receptor in the cytoplasm. So receptor complex will form. Now this receptor complex enters into the nucleus. In the nucleus, it binds with the DNA and causes the transcription, produces mRNA, and this mRNA is responsible for synthesis of proteins, and the proteins like calbindin protein is produced. This calbindin helps in the absorption of calcium from the lumen and transports this calcium from the intestinal cell into the blood with the help of cal-binding protein. So calcitriol is involved in the transportation of calcium, absorption and transportation of calcium into the blood from the lumen of the intestine. That is about the action of calcitriol on the intestine. Now it has effect on vitamin D also. So if you see the second target tissue, effect of vitamin D in bone, effect of vitamin D in bone. If you see the mineralization of the bones is increased by increasing the activity of osteoblast cells. So two types of cells are active in the bone, that is osteoblast cells and osteoclast cells. So in the bone what happens, mineralization of the bone is increased. So for the strengthening of the bone, mineralization means deposition of calcium is required for the strengthening of the bones. That is called mineralization. So this mineralization of bone is increased by increasing the activity of osteoblast cells. Mineralization of the bone is increased by increasing the activity of osteoblast cells. This calcitriol coordinates the remodeling action of osteoclast cells and osteoblast cells. Calcitriol coordinates the remodeling action of osteoclast cells and osteoblast cells. So calcitriol stimulates osteoblast cells which secrete an enzyme called alkaline phosphatase. Calcitriol stimulates osteoblast which secretes an enzyme called alkaline phosphatase. Due to this alkaline phosphatase enzyme, the local concentration of phosphate is increased. The local concentration of phosphate is increased, and the normal ionic product of calcium and phosphorus, if you see, it is 1:40. Means for every 1 calcium there is 40 molecules of phosphorus is present. So this is the ratio that is present in the bone, ratio of calcium and phosphorus in the bone. The ionic product of calcium and phosphorus increases, leading to the mineralization of the bone. This mineralization is increased because of the increased activity of osteoblast cells. Okay. Now see, the flow chart is given in this slide. It is showing about the response to low plasma calcium levels. Suppose in the body, in the blood, calcium levels are less. So what will happen in response to the low plasma calcium levels? What will happen? It triggers a hormone called parathyroid hormone from the parathyroid gland. So this parathyroid hormone produces this vitamin D3, stimulates vitamin D3. Now this vitamin D3, increased vitamin D3, what it will do? It acts on calcium mobilization from the bone. It increases the renal reabsorption of calcium. It decreases the renal excretion of calcium. It increases the calcium absorption from the intestine. It increases the calcium absorption from intestine. As a result, plasma calcium is increased. Now, this plasma calcium, decreased plasma calcium triggers two hormones, that is parathyroid hormone and vitamin D3, that is calcitriol. Now, this parathyroid hormone, what it will do? It increases the calcium mobilization from the bone. So calcium from the bone comes into the blood, so it causes the increased plasma calcium. Similarly, it increases the renal reabsorption of calcium, so that calcium excretion from the urine is decreased. So as a result, plasma calcium will get increased. And parathyroid hormone, if you see, it decreases the renal excretion of calcium. It decreases the renal excretion of calcium, also is decreased. So as a result, the plasma calcium level is increased. So parathyroid hormone and calcitriol, nothing but vitamin D3, work in coordination in response to the plasma calcium. These two hormones are very useful in maintaining the calcium levels in the blood. Then effect of vitamin D on in the renal tubules. Calcitriol, it increases the reabsorption of calcium and phosphorus by renal tubules. Therefore, both minerals are conserved. Therefore, both minerals are conserved. So calcitriol in the renal tubules, what it will do, vitamin D, it increases the reabsorption of calcium and phosphorus by the renal tubules. Therefore, both the minerals are conserved. As a result, calcium and phosphorus levels is increased and it helps in the bone mineralization as well. Then regulation of calcitriol. The hormonal level of calcitriol is maintained by feedback mechanism. If you see, the rate of production is modulated by serum levels of calcium, phosphorus, parathyroid hormone PTH and calcitriol itself. So the regulation of calcitriol is modulated by the serum levels of calcium, phosphorus, PTH, parathyroid hormone and calcitriol itself. The major site of control is on the alpha 1 hydroxylase enzyme, which is present in the kidney. The synthesis of 1 alpha hydroxylase enzyme, so that is the regulatory enzyme, so that the formation of 125 hydroxy dihydroxycholecalciferol takes place in the kidney. So this is mainly by the help of enzyme 1 alpha hydroxylase. So regulation of the enzyme 1 alpha hydroxylase is regulating the synthesis of vitamin D. So this is the controlling enzyme of vitamin D. Now hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia means increased calcium levels in the blood is called hypercalcemia. This hypercalcemia decreases the production of calcitriol or vitamin D. Now deficiency of vitamin D results in rickets condition in case of children and in case of osteomalacia in adults. In case of adults, vitamin D deficiency causes osteomalacia and in children it causes rickets. Clinical features of rickets. If you see the clinical features of rickets in children, the classical features are bone deformities. Bone deformities. So bones are not formed properly because of the deficiency of vitamin D. This condition is called rickets. So in this, there is insufficient mineralization of bones. Bones are not mineralized properly. So they become very soft and pliable. Means they become very soft, spongy and they are more susceptible for breakage. Means nothing but fractures. So there is a insufficient mineralization of bones, so they become soft and pliable. Weight bearing bones means you know that the body skeleton is made up of bones only. So the bones, the skeleton, they are bearing the mass, muscle mass, other tissues, everything. So the bones are responsible for carrying the weight on our body. So weight bearing bones, if they are insufficient in vitamin D, there is insufficient mineralization, so they are very soft. As the function of bones is to bear the weight, because they are very soft in case of deficiency of vitamin D, what will happen? These bones, they become bent. They become bent. So as a result, what will happen? The bones that are present in the legs, they become bent. So that is called bow legs. It results in the formation of bow legs. Other clinical manifestations of this rickets include knock-knee, bossing of frontal bones, PGN chest or other features of this rickets. And ricketic rosary, an enlargement of the epiphysis, at the lower edge of the ribs, and costochondral junction leads to the beading of ribs. That is called ricketic rosary. This is the characteristic feature of rickets in case of children, ricketic rosary. So bow legs, knock-knee, bossing of frontal bones, PGN chest and ricketic rosary is the clinical features of rickets. Harrison's sulcus, this is a transverse depression passing outward from the costal cartilage to axilla, is also another symptom, characteristic feature of rickets, and this is due to indentation of lower ribs at the site of the attachment of diaphragm. Now, clinical features of osteomalacia. Osteomalacia is the bone disorder that results because of the vitamin D deficiency in case of adults. Now, in case of adults, osteomalacia, the bones are softened due to insufficient mineralization and increased osteoporosis. Osteoporosis means the calcium and phosphorus that is present in the bone is taken into the blood. As a result, the bone will become spongy. Lot of pores will be there. When you take the X-ray of such kind of bone, you can see lot of pores in the X-ray. So that is why that condition is called as osteoporosis. These patients are more susceptible for fractures. Now see, this is a picture showing the rickets symptoms in children. Now see, this is called knock knee. Means both the knees of the legs will come together. This is called knock knee, knee knock. This is knee knock. So both the knee joints are sticking to each other. So they will walk like that. That is called knee knocking. Now you can see here in the other diagram, the legs of the children are widespread. This is called bow legs. This is because of insufficient mineralization of bones in children, leading to the condition called rickets. So this is a normal baby and this is a baby on either side showing the rickets. So this is called knee knock. This is bow leg formation in case of rickets in children. So this is bow legs in the middle-aged person diagram. You can see the bent in the bones because of this results in the nutritional deficiency of vitamin D. As a result, malformation of the skeleton takes place. Now, if you see the biochemical changes in the rickets or osteomalacia, normal or a slightly lower serum calcium level will be observed in these rickets or osteomalacia patients. Low serum phosphate is also observed. Calcium and phosphate, both values in the blood are low, found to be low. And bone isoenzyme of serum alkaline phosphatase is markedly increased. Bone isoenzyme of serum alkaline phosphatase is markedly increased. ALP levels in the rickets and osteomalacia is increased. Now if you see the different types of rickets, it can be hypophosphatemic rickets. It results from defective renal tubular reabsorption of phosphate. So in the renal tubules, the phosphate is not reabsorbed properly. So this is defective renal reabsorption in the renal tubules of phosphate. So as a result, phosphate is becoming low. So phosphate is excreted in the urine. So concentration of phosphate in the blood decreases. That condition is called hypophosphatemia. This hypophosphatemic results in bone deformation, that is resulting in the hypophosphatemic rickets. So supplementation of vitamin D along with the phosphate is found to be useful in case of hypophosphatemic rickets. And vitamin D resistant rickets is another type of rickets. So this is found to be associated with Fanconi syndrome, where the renal tubular reabsorption of bicarbonate, phosphate, glucose and amino acids is defective in case of Fanconi syndrome. So this is vitamin D resistant because the phosphate is not absorbed, some amino acids are not also absorbed in the renal tubules, glucose is also not reabsorbed properly, bicarbonate, essential things for the body are not reabsorbed, resulting in a condition called Fanconi syndrome. So this is resulting in another kind of rickets which is vitamin D resistant. Even if you supply vitamin D also, there won't be any improvement in the rickets. This is called vitamin D dependent rickets. Third type of rickets is renal rickets. In the renal diseases, even if vitamin D is available, calcitriol is not synthesized. Calcitriol is not synthesized because the 1-alpha hydroxylase 1 alpha hydroxylase, alpha 1 hydroxylase or 1 alpha hydroxylase enzyme is not present. This is absent in the kidney. So as a result, 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol is not synthesized in the body, resulting in a condition called renal rickets. These cases will respond to administration of calcitriol. So in these patients, if you give vitamin D as supplementation, the renal ricket patients, they recover. Then end organ refractoriness. End organ refractoriness. So to 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol will also lead to the rickets. Deficiency of 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol will also leads to rickets. This is end organ refractoriness, because here what happens is either a decrease in the number of cytosolic receptor or a structurally abnormal receptor or decrease in the number of cytosolic receptors results in the insufficient action of the vitamin D over the cells takes place. So that is end organ refractoriness. As a result, what will happen? The bone disease has been found to respond to mega doses of calcitriol. So if you give excessive calcitriol, the organs will respond properly. So causes of vitamin deficiency, if you see, it can be because of nutritional deficiency or malabsorption. Nutritional deficiency of calcium and phosphate also produce similar kind of clinical symptoms. In the developing countries, nutritional deficiency is the commonest cause, because the food is not available for many people, so there will be nutritional deficiency. And cholesterol is very essential compound which is required for the synthesis of vitamin D. Then malabsorption of vitamin D is the absorption is not proper, though they are taking vitamin D in the diet, but it is not absorbed properly. So in case of obstructive jaundice and steatorrhea, this is absorption of vitamin D is impaired. So as a result, high phytate content also in the diet may also reduce the absorption of vitamin. High phytate content means if you take lot of vegetables, leafy vegetables which are rich in phytate content, then it may interfere with the absorption of vitamin D. As a result, malabsorption of vitamin D can take place, which causes the vitamin D deficiency in the body. Deficient in renal absorption of phosphates can also result in vitamin D deficiency. Abnormality of vitamin D activation is also associated with vitamin D deficiency. Liver and renal diseases may retard the hydroxylation reaction. As a result, vitamin D deficiency can occur. It can occur in people who are not exposed to sunlight properly. So if the people are not exposed to sunlight properly, then also the formation of vitamin D in the body decreases. Then hypervitaminosis, excessive doses of vitamin D, what will happen? Toxicity is more common with vitamin D. Doses above 1500 units per day for very long periods may cause toxicity. So you should not take excessive doses of vitamin D also. It results in a condition called hypervitaminosis D, that is called toxicity. So symptoms of vitamin D toxicity include polyuria, intense thirst, weakness, difficulty in speaking, and weight loss is seen in case of toxicity of vitamin D. Hypercalcemia leads to calcification of soft tissues. Soft tissues, if the calcium level is increasing, they become calcified. That is called metastatic calcification. So as a result, the softness of the tissue will lose, the property of the tissues are not will be lost, and they do not function properly. Especially in vascular and renal tissues also, this is very dangerous. The excessive calcium levels is damaging the blood vessels and renal tissues, that leads to a condition called